Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going right behind the scenes of your digital diet. We're basing our exploration today on this absolutely massive, peer-reviewed research document from July 2026. It actually synthesizes thousands of pages of studies and even internal leaks to answer what is arguably one of the defining questions of our time. And that whole debate revolves around one single question. Do social media algorithms systematically radicalize users? Now, if you ask the internet, or just read the daily headlines, the answer is usually a resounding yes. We kind of picture algorithms as these malicious puppet masters. But as we're going to see today, the scientific reality is far more nuanced, incredibly complex, and frankly, just way more interesting. So here's our roadmap. We'll quickly cover the radicalization question, how engagement equals money, rabbit holes versus infrastructure, the TikTok exception, real-world consequences, and finally, fixing the system. All right, let's look at the hard data. Section 1, the radicalization question and the evolution of the feed.
Before 2009, social media was just chronological. You saw what your friends posted exactly in the order they posted it. Simple, right? Then Facebook introduced early algorithmic ranking. But the real earthquake, that happened in 2018. Platforms shifted to prioritize what they called meaningful social interactions, which basically meant posts that generate comments and shares. The intent was totally benign, but human nature kind of took over. We are just far more likely to comment on things that make us angry, which inadvertently amplified all this outrage. Fast forward to 2024, and the EU's Digital Services Act steps in, representing the first real regulatory pushback.
Moving on to Section 2, engagement equals money. The core problem, $131.9 billion. Think about that for a second. That was Meta's ad revenue for 2023 alone. These platforms sell advertising space, and that revenue scales directly with your engagement. The longer you scroll, the more ads you see, the more money they make. It's really that simple. This creates a massive financial incentive to prioritize your time on the platform over, actual informational quality. This tension is perfectly captured by whistleblower Frances Haugen back in 2021. She stated, Facebook has realized that if they change the algorithm to be safer, people will spend less time on the site, they'll click on less ads, they'll make less money. See, the problem isn't a glitch in the code. It's that human beings are literally evolutionarily wired to pay attention to threats and moral violations. Fear and anger just naturally drive way higher engagement than nuanced reality ever could. Section 3. Rabbit holes versus infrastructure, the paradigm shift. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is that we need to clear up two heavily confused terms. First, a filter bubble. This implies the algorithm actively isolates you from opposing views. But large-scale studies actually show true filter bubbles are much smaller than we originally theorized. An echo chamber, on the other hand, is driven by human choice, a phenomenon researchers call homophily, which is where we actively seek out like-minded peers. So it turns out echo chambers are often our own doing, not just the algorithm pulling the strings. Which brings us to a massive paradigm shift in the academic community. For a long time, the popular myth was the funnel model, this idea that algorithms grab ordinary users and just push them down an extremist rabbit hole. But rigorous studies have largely debunked this for the average user. Instead, the current consensus points to the infrastructure model. This means platforms provide the hosting, the discovery, and the networking scaffolding that allows people who are already predisposed to extreme content to self-radicalize. They act as highly efficient infrastructure for community building rather than some kind of brainwashing funnel. But don't mistake that for a lack of danger. 64%. According to internal Facebook documents, 64% of all extremist group joins were due to the platform's own recommendation tools, like the Groups You Should Join feature. So the algorithm might not feed you an extremist video on day one, but it is incredibly efficient at clustering ideologically similar users into these self-reinforcing, very dangerous communities. Section 4, the TikTok exception, the outlier. Let's compare the major platforms for a second. Facebook relies heavily on who your friends are, plus engagement. YouTube looks at engagement and content similarity, and the evidence there on radicalizing average users is actually pretty mixed. But then look at TikTok. Its For You page is uniquely aggressive because it practically ignores your social graph. It really doesn't care who you follow. It cares strictly about raw behavioral signals, things like watch time and replays. This makes its personalization incredibly high, and the evidence linking it to accelerated radicalization, especially among adolescents, is rapidly growing. Section 5. Real-world consequences. The stakes.
So the crucial point is that this isn't just theoretical. The research outlines several documented European terrorism cases that highlight a new accelerated threat. In Brussels, back in October 2023, an attack was directly linked to jihadi content on TikTok. Over in Zurich in March 2024, authorities noted severe online radicalization in an attack by a 14-year-old. And in Vienna in August 2024, a thwarted teen concert attack plot pointed once again to TikTok for extremist dissemination. The hard data suggests these hyper-personalized algorithms are accelerating what used to take years into a process of just months or even days, especially for vulnerable youth.
Zooming out to a geopolitical scale, the 2017 Myanmar Rohingya crisis serves as a catastrophic warning. In a vulnerable market that was just transitioning to digital communication, Facebook effectively became the entire internet, but it scaled up without local language moderation guardrails. Because outrage drives engagement, the algorithm ended up amplifying sensational ethnic hate speech. The UN Human Rights Council actually explicitly stated the platform played a determining role in the crisis. It really proves what happens when algorithms optimize purely for engagement in high-tension environments without any safety nets.
Let's move to our final part, Section 6, and see how this builds into fixing the system, regulatory and structural solutions. Right now, global regulation is massively fragmented. On one side, you have the European Union's Digital Services Act, which mandates aggressive algorithmic disclosure, independent audits, and annual risk assessments for very large platforms. Then, on the complete opposite end, is the United States, which is still operating under Section 230 from way back in 1996. This grants platforms broad immunity with basically zero federal algorithmic transparency requirements. The gap between how the EU and the US treat platform accountability literally couldn't be wider. So, what does the academic consensus actually recommend we do about this? Well, they outline 3 core steps. First, mandate algorithmic impact assessments to force platforms to disclose radicalization risks. Second, establish researcher data access rights so independent scientists can study these black box systems safely. And third, require platforms to offer alternative, non-profiling feed options, like a simple chronological feed, so you actually have a choice in the matter. Because the research is crystal clear on this, voluntary platform self-regulation has completely failed. The commercial incentives to keep you engaged are simply too strong. Which leaves us with this final, profound question. Can we truly fix the algorithm without fundamentally changing the advertising business model? I mean, if human biology dictates that outrage keeps our attention, and platforms rely on our attention to generate hundreds of billions of dollars, is structural safety even possible without changing how these companies make money? It's a massive challenge at the intersection of technology, psychology, and economics. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this data gives you a brand new perspective the next time you find yourself endlessly scrolling.